If you're watching this live, go ahead and participate in the chat. Love to hear from you. If we have time, we'll make sure that we get to some of your questions. And welcome, Richard Taylor, for being here with me on this live stream.
Thank you so
being
much.
Willing to share your story. Love that. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing today?
Awesome. We had a little bit of internet problems. We're getting late on the live stream, but here we are. Sorry, everybody, if you were waiting, half an hour ago. But we got it figured out, and we're doing this live. If this is post live and you're watching this video, then be sure to leave some comments in the regular comments. The chat turns off, but then the regular comments keeps going. And Richard is very willing to share what he's doing. So please, I'll put his information if he wants to share that at the end.
Absolutely.
In the description, so people could reach out to you if they have questions. But the reason why I wanted to do this video and invite you on here, Richard, is you have a phenomenal story about how you got started. You've done these 3 deals in around 60 days or so. And we're going to walk through these 3 deals and have you kind of share with us how those deals came to fruition. Like all deals, there were some challenges and obstacles, and you plowed through those. And then what's really exciting is where you're taking the business now. You're doing some amazing things to scale and grow. And I want you to know, I told you this before we started, Richard, that you're a huge inspiration to people, because so many people are working on that first deal, or maybe they've done that first deal and they're trying to get that second deal, and they're trying to prove it works and then grow a company. And ultimately, I think all of us want that freedom, financial freedom, time freedom. And that's why we get into this in the first place. So Richard, these were all virtual deals in Cleveland, correct? These first 3 deals.
I've never actually been to Ohio. And I can't say that's a bad thing, but given that I run a real estate company in Ohio, I would say that it's surprising that I've never been to the market in which all of my houses have been sold. So yeah, every single deal has been virtual up until this point.
Richard, that is pretty neat for a couple of reasons. I love virtual for one major reason, and it really lends to lifestyle, right? Like, it allows you to then live anywhere, be anywhere, totally create and control your own schedule. And that's really amazing to think about. I mean, think about this, Richard. You're going to school, you're from California, you're doing these deals thousands of miles away that you never actually see. I mean, exactly. Is there anything cooler than that, right?
No, there really isn't. I mean, I go to Oregon State University right now, and I'm surrounded by people who I say are in the 9-to-5 mindset. It's not exactly a bad thing to be in the 9-to-5 mindset, but you're on a different level. You have different aspirations, and hey, maybe when you're 30, you're going to realize I would have liked to have done this at some point. But if you were to start this today, there's no reason 6 months from now you couldn't have a 6-figure business selling real estate.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and put some resources in the chat for you guys as Richard is sharing. I do have a virtual flipper kit, which walks through everything you need to do to get set up to do virtual. And it'll really help you kind of head in that right direction as far as how to do the whole thing, from finding leads, contracting those with the sellers, finding cash buyers, getting boots on the ground, closing with title, all of those steps. It's a really great way to, those of you that are super interested in virtual. If you guys want that, let me know. I'll put that in the, it's super easy. It's just virtualflipperkit.com. So I'll go ahead and put that link in the description. And what's great, Richard, is you reached out to me and you said, hey, Jerry, I've been able to get my start, do these deals, and I did it solely from watching your YouTube videos. And I love hearing that, because it's amazing that you could actually, watch those videos, learn that information, take action, and then get results. So tell me a little bit about that. What was your journey like? When did you first start down your education path?
So I purchased a course on real estate actually probably about 2 years ago, and I never touched it. I bought it and I literally did not open it. And I think it was something about buying rental properties, but I had another introduction to real estate. As I'm scrolling through TikTok, I see the wholesale to millions guy. He says, let's go get this money. And then I look up wholesale real estate, and there's Jerry Norton on the front page. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this guy. I'm watching about, I want to say 10 videos a day. And I was even trying to show my girlfriend the videos at the time. I was like, look at this. You can make 100,000 plus per year from your laptop. And this was a super attractive concept to me, because I had previously been selling on Amazon. And the thing that appealed to me about Amazon is, hey, you don't have to go anywhere. This can all be automated. This can all be done from your computer. Unfortunately, Amazon kind of changed and put me in a little bit of a pit. But after having debt from Amazon, I was really motivated to get into real estate, and Jerry's videos were what got me there. So I remember starting watching the Watch Me Wholesale videos in every single city around the United States. And I was really interested in the Watch Me Wholesale Portland one, because at the time I was living in Corvallis, which is right outside of Portland. And I wanted to do deals. So I started calling people in my local market, and I realized, these guys are asking me to come out to the property given that I'm in the area. I don't want to go to the property. I don't want to go to closing. I don't want to go to anything. I just want to sit in my bed and close deals. Yeah. So I watched these videos and I learned about the double dip technique, where Jerry offers to let a real estate agent represent him in exchange for that 5%, 6%, 7% commission that would normally only be half of that. And I ended up calling a number of for sale by owners. I ended up calling some on-market properties, and I was really just doing this to get my foot in the door. I didn't actually plan to get under contract with any of the properties. I was nervous about talking to people on the phone, and I wanted to talk to real estate agents who were accustomed to talking to first-time buyers who weren't necessarily aware of what they were talking about. Yeah. And I just wanted to get the education from actually talking to the people. So what I would do is watch Jerry analyze a house. I would comp the house myself, a different one. We'd compare the two properties, and then I would go on to Zillow, and I'd call a for sale by owner and make an offer. And I probably did this for, I want to say, 3 months on and off. The majority of the time was spent listening to podcasts, your podcast specifically, also the Wholesale Hotline one, but almost exclusively your Watch Me Wholesale videos and comping videos. And I had a call with a seller who lived in Cleveland, Ohio. He lived on the west side, and he had a property that he was asking $50,000 for. And I wanted it at $45,000, but he had another offer at $49,000. He takes the offer at $49,000, and it falls through with another wholesaler. So he calls me and he's like, "Hey, Richard, I'm ready to sell this house again." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Are we proceeding at that 45?" And he was like, "No, we actually got to be at 50 now." And I was like, I can't be at 50. I'm going to need to be at least 48. And we settled on 49, same contract price he had before. And I was able to post this on Facebook Marketplace using a strategy that I learned on another one of Jerry Norton's videos. So many pieces of gold in here. All you have to do is just scroll through them. Anyway, he has a video on Adobe Spark where he actually shows you how to make a slideshow and runs you through every single aspect of putting together the video. It's like you have a picture of the house, and then it slides to the next picture, and it just makes it as seamless as possible and differentiates you from all of your competition on Facebook Marketplace. So when I posted that slideshow,
when you post it on the Facebook group, it what's cool too, Richard, is like when people are scrolling through their feed, it automatically kind of starts playing the little video slideshow, right? So it just
that's right.
It just puts you at a whole nother level because you've kind of upped the game compared to everyone else who's just posting like numbers or text, right?
And another thing I will mention is that it doesn't look like a scam. When you're on Facebook Marketplace, you scroll through a sea of wholesale deals that say attention investors or fix and flip project or something like this. And then you have this seamless video that just begins to play. It looks all professional, looks like you hired your assistant to make it for you. Hey, you don't have time to actually be on there. And anyways, the video was what got my deal seen. And I was actually able to get in contact with one of the biggest fix and flip investors in Cleveland, Ohio. I guess
their team saw it. Their team saw it on the Facebook group.
Yeah. So I didn't actually speak to the buyer. I spoke with an intern, and this is interesting. So even if you have a teenage guy who looks like me, reach out to you and say, "Hey, I want to buy your house." Don't pass him up every single time because, hey, you may never know. He might work for somebody like Jerry Norton. Yeah. So anyways, this guy, he's a real nice guy, a friend of mine now. But I told him about the deal, and I told him about another deal I had. And he actually ended up sending his buyer out to the deal. And it wasn't a JV situation. It was just he was the intern at that fix and flip company. His job was to find leads. So we send the buyer out to the place, and she settles on it at, I think, $41,750 to make my first assignment fee of $2,750.
51,750.
I apologize. $51,750. Locked it up at 49.
49.
And that was a very small deal, $2,750. And it was everything to me. It wasn't about the money. It was about the proof of concept.
Yeah.
You can see Jerry Norton closing deals, and he makes it look so easy. But until you actually get on the phone and say, hey, I want to buy your property, it's not the same. I mean,
right.
you can watch somebody do it, but until you're actually doing it, there's a whole lot of confidence that goes into it. There's a whole lot of know-how that goes into it. And there's a whole lot of, I'm not afraid of what's going to happen if I get under contract. So watching those videos was absolutely crucial to closing this deal.
And what's cool is Fizbo from Zillow. So didn't cost you any marketing dollars, right? Free technique to find your cash buyer, posting on the Facebook group. So then, it was only $2,750. I love that you said proof of concept. I remember when I did my first deal, Richard, it was a $6,000 wholesale fee, and it could have been $1 million because just doing the process and having success just was so invigorating and so encouraging and so motivating to like, okay, now how do I roll this out and do this at scale, right? Which I know is what you're focusing on right now. So $2,750 wholesaling and a Fizbo from Zillow. Super cool. Love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, I don't want to say it's luck, but the thing about calling for sale by owners is if you call enough of them, you will get a deal. So I know Jerry talks about this a little bit, but if you go on Zillow, there are on-market listings and there are off-market listings, and Zillow is under a little bit of heat right now because they separate those, but you can look at the other section on Zillow, and the other has these for sale by owners, and for sale by owners are amazing. They are people who know that they don't want to pay real estate commissions, who know that they don't want to pay closing costs, who also may be in distress. So another reason that people sell their properties for sale by owner is because they may not be able to be approved for a traditional mortgage. If they sell it to an end buyer and hey, they've got a squatters in there, they've got a hoarding issue, they've got foundation issues, maybe the roof is leaking, they're not going to get approved. And the majority of people don't have the cash laying around. So when you call a for sale by owner, you already have a mutual understanding of what's going on. Hey, I'm an investor. I need this at a good price so I can flip it. And you have a house that's a little bit questionable. So I would just call these people on for sale by owner. And I remember calling one that wasn't really a for sale by owner. It was technically on market, but I pursued it as if it were for sale by owner. So this one is also on the west side of Cleveland, and it is listed with an agent. However, the agent is actually the homeowner. And I didn't figure this out until I actually offered to do the double dip technique. I called her and I was like, hey, would you mind representing me? I'm not actually represented. And she didn't understand what that meant. And I was like, okay, so what brokerage are you a part of? You typically have to pay some fees to your brokerage. I think it might help you to get this double commission on the deal. And she's like, oh no, I actually own the house. Like, okay, great. So you are a real estate agent. You've listed your own house, and commissions don't matter because you own the house. Great. Okay. So I briefly bring up her state approved contract. I'm like, so do we have a contract that you're already working with? And she is also confused. And I say, okay, not a problem. I have a contract. I don't have a contract. It's your contract. Yeah. And I sent her your contract, which is actually the first time I'd used your contract.
Yeah.
And she signs it. But the problem was she didn't want to sign it 122, which is what I offered, unless we could come to some sort of resolve. So as many people say, a wholesaler's job is to provide value and to solve problems. So we do it quick. We solve problems. What's the distress? What problem can I solve? The problem that I could solve in this situation was she had tenants, and the tenants were they were in, I guess, poor financial situation. So I actually moved them out. Not myself, of course. I literally called a man on Craigslist who I had never talked to before. I called one with a cross in it. He was a big Jesus guy. And I was like, hey, if he's supporting Jesus, maybe he's not going to rob me. So I send the guy like $350.
Which isn't always the case, Richard, just so you know.
That's true. That is absolutely true. I agree with you. But I send the man $350, and he goes to the place, and he has a 23-foot long bed truck, and he moves the tenant out. He takes all this stuff.
So hold on a second, Richard. So the point here is you made your offer, and in your offer, you included, hey, with this price, I will move your tenants.
Yeah.
I will move your tenants. And so that, by offering that was an added value on top of just, hey, here's a price, here's cash, close quickly as is, and I'll move your tenants. Now, I love this technique because what you just said, it's such a huge value to someone who thinks that's a big deal. Like, oh my gosh, move my tenants. That sounds like a nightmare. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know how I would do that, how I'd find somebody. You find somebody on Craigslist for $350. It's easy. Like a guy shows up with a trailer and moves them all. Not a big deal. You took this big insurmountable problem and solved it. And I love that because, guys, that is wholesaling. Wholesaling is solving problems. Figure out what their issues are. Figure out what their big problems are. What they think are challenges that are insurmountable, that are like unable to even move forward. And then you find solutions to that. So what an easy fix for $350 to move the tenant out. I love that.
And let me tell you, one thing that I have found that works in my personal experience, if you have a seller and they have liens on the house, they owe a lot on the house, they don't know if they can close on the house, say, hey, we'll run a free title inspection for you. We'll get the title work. And essentially that's another way of saying, can I wholesale your house? Can I find a buyer while we're getting the title work done? And the thing is, the seller will say, yeah, I would love to know exactly what I owe on my property. I'd love to get the payoff letter. So even if I don't sell it to you, I can have the payoff letter, I can have the title work done, and I can do a fast close. So in addition to offering to move the tenants out or to solve whatever problems they have, oftentimes it's hoarding, you can say, hey, I'll do the title work for you. I'll get it done. And by the way, to us wholesalers, that's free. I have never paid a single dime for any of my deals. Yeah. $0 earnest money down, all 3 deals. So there's so many different issues that sellers are experiencing, and it's just your job to figure out what they are.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so this is you're talking about right now your second deal, and so then with that deal where you agreed on a price, you agreed to move the tenant out, then you got a contract, right? And this was with that agent/owner. And what was your contract price on that one?
So the contract price on that one was $122,000 plus the cost of moving the tenant out. And I actually had that on my contract that I would move out both tenants. And one of the tenants did not feel comfortable with us moving them out, and they did it themselves. So I only actually had to move out the tenant on the bottom floor, which was extremely helpful because we had a duplex. And I ended up selling it to the same buyer who I had made a connection with on my previous deal for $2,750.
Okay.
So that buyer was super happy to get a property from me in the low 50,000s. So I call her and I'm like, hey, I got another one. She goes out, looks at it immediately, and very rare, but she asked me, what can I give you for this? I guess she was asking, like, what's the lowest you'll take?
Yeah.
I was asking $137,500 at the time, which would have been $15,500 profit. But unfortunately, I was like, yeah, I'd take $135,000. So we settle at 13. But
she said okay when you gave her that number.
Yes, she said okay.
You're like, oh, I should have asked for more.
Yeah, I should have just said my asking price, which should have resulted in another.
Richard, what she should have done is she should have said back to you, is that the lowest you'll go? Because maybe you would have come down even lower.
I would have. I really would have. I don't want to think about that.
Yeah. Good thing she didn't ask you if that was the lowest you'll go.
Absolutely.
But
great. I was
that 13,000 then? Is that what that one is?
13,000. 13,000, yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
at the time, it was
it goes to show too the power of a repeat buyer. You know, like when you have a good experience with a cash buyer, especially one like this that's you know, buying a lot of properties, that can be a huge connection that turns into repeat business. Clearly,
Absolutely.
yeah. So sometimes we think, oh, I got to have you know, 1,000 buyers on my list, or 10,000 buyers on my list, or 100,000 buyers. No, yeah, right. It doesn't. Now, clearly, building your cash buyer list is really smart thing to do, right? But a lot of people let that stop them from getting started. And in fact, a lot of people teach get a cash buyer list first before even making offers. And I know, Richard, you know, I completely disagree with that. Go get a good deal, and there's a buyer waiting for that deal. Just, you know,
Throw a rock.
You throw a rock, right? Yeah, there's a buyer. Buyers are dying for deals. So don't let that stop you. The hardest part of the business in today's market is getting a good deal. So get that good deal, and finding the cash buyer is, if it's a deal, is the least of your worries, right? So that's what you did. You went straight back to your first buyer where you made $2,750. Now, let me ask you a question. Clearly that buyer did not care how much you were making, and they did not care that it was listed for sale on market. Did they care about either of those two things?
No, they didn't. So as you said in another one of your videos, the buyer should not be worrying about the money that's in my pocket and what I did to acquire the deal. They should be worrying about whether the deal makes sense for them, regardless of how it was brought to their plate. So this buyer,
not all buyers think that way, but that's the type of buyer you want to align with. So I'm that way. So for example, Richard, I buy a lot from wholesalers. I have a finder program where people bring deals, and I could care less if you got that deal for $1 or 100,000. I could care less if you make $1 million, right? What matters is, can I acquire a deal at my number in my formula that I can then take and do what I want to do with it, which is flip it or keep it for rental, whatever I want to do as my exit as the buyer. And so when you're out building your cash buyer list, just know that you're going to run into buyers that are counting the money in your pocket. It is an issue for them how much you make. Maybe they're okay, you make 3,000. As soon as you make 5,000, they have a problem, or whatever the numbers are. As soon as you make 15,000, now they have a problem. Somehow by you making money, they're not making money, or whatever the issues are. And so you just got to know as a wholesaler going into this that you're going to run into that sometimes. But if you can keep aligning yourself with cash buyers who are looking at the money in their pocket, not your pocket, focusing on their business, not your business, then they will buy your deals left and right and could care less how much you make. And that's how the world turns, really. Like that's why there's a wholesaler, and that's why there's a cash buyer, right? So love that. And congratulations. I mean, I love that you've got a buyer that's got their head on straight, and they're a big flipper, and they don't care. All they care about is getting deals that fit their criteria.
That's correct. And I'm going to be selling them many, many more deals. Yeah. They're absolutely killing it right now. And I couldn't be happier that they were one of the first buyers I found. I actually still have my listing that I sold to them up on Facebook Marketplace as kind of a magnet. It just brings in buyers. And I talk to them, every single one. I'll hop on a call with them and I'll say, hey, what are you buying? What's your criteria?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to put down this amount of cash right now? And just build that buyer's list.
When you're looking for your next deal, where do you like to? Yeah, so I call this, Richard, profiling your buyer. The better you understand your buyer, then the more you can tailor deals to them, because nothing's more frustrated from a cash buyer than you bring them stuff that they're not interested in. And so like your big flipper, the more you understand them, then it's going to be so much better, because you're not wasting their time now bringing them stuff that doesn't fit their criteria or not in their area or not the right numbers or whatever. So you will be a better wholesaler as you full service wholesale to that cash buyer, for sure.
Definitely. And just the properties that they are buying per year, you can become their sole provider of properties. They don't have an existing relationship. For example, in other companies, when you are buying from a provider, you have a signed contract with that provider, with that supplier. In real estate, it's different. It's whoever has the game, whoever's willing to put in the work, and whoever can bring the results is who they're going to buy from every single time.
Yeah, that's amazing. So that one was a $13,000 on market, which was sort of weird because it was an owner. It was a new agent who really didn't understand agency very well. But the way I look at this too, Richard, is those type of deals are out there and they're on market, and it's just a numbers game, right? Talk to enough, do the double dip strategy enough times, and you're going to land those home run deals.
Well, let me put it this way. I have never stopped taking college classes. I take it through the summer. I did all of this while being a full-time college student. I'm talking 16, 18, 20 credits. I'll be graduating this year at age 20, but I was able to do this while having another priority in my head.
Yeah.
So if you call for sale by owners every single day, you will make six figures this year. In 2022, you will make six figures. In the month of October, I made $15,750 from making calls on my laptop. And by the way, $0 put down for both of those deals and every single deal up until this point. I mean, hell, we have like 10 through 20 contracts closing in the next couple months. I have $0 down for every single one of them. I'm still a college student. I'm not slowing down the courses. I'm just taking them online so I can prioritize this because of what it's become.
Yeah, and let's talk about this for a second. I see a comment there from Phil Banks that says he doesn't want to feel like the buyer's employee. And that is a valid point. My good friend Cody Hoffine, he calls it being a cash buyer employee. And what that means now is it means, Richard, the lazy thing would be to not go cultivate any new cash buyers and just take all your deals straight to this one big buyer. Because pretty soon that buyer they are gonna want to take advantage of you a little bit. The tendency is going to be, can I beat him down a little bit on price? He owes it to me because I bought from him before. You're going to feel a little bit of an obligation to give them a premium and a big discount. Maybe there's other people out there that would pay way more. So you do want to keep your cash buyers honest and let them know, hey, I'm not giving this away for free, or I'm not just going to give this away because it is a good deal and there are other buyers that I talk to. And that's just anything. Like, that's my contractors too. So with my contractors, if I give my electrician, the one electrician, the same job, like the job, every single project over and over and over, then he's going to start to feel entitled and he's going to start to raise his prices. Whereas if he knows, hey, you know what? I love you. I like you. You do great work, but I get bids every time I do a deal and you still have to remain competitive, then that trains him to then be on his best behavior with me, right? To show up with his best number, knowing that he may miss out if his numbers aren't good, right?
That's
so
absolutely right.
Yeah, same kind of thing. So build that cash buyer list. The great thing about, as you build your list, if you do send, one of your deals to your list and you kind of say, hey, here's the deal, may the highest price win. Doing that tends to draw out an outlier of somebody who pays like way more than everybody else. And so sometimes you'll get that big pop where they buy it like 90 cents on the dollar. And you're like, why are they paying that much? I have no idea, but great. I just doubled my wholesale fee because it's this outlier that overpays, right? And that's the beauty of having a massive list. But guys, don't miss the point here of where Richard's at in his journey. He's brand new, has 3 people on a list, does not have a list. Now he's building it quickly right now, but the point here is he's got a buyer that he can take deals to, and that is the most beautiful thing in the world, to have a big flipper who wants to buy and you can bring them deals. Richard, run with that as long as you can, knowing that your end game is to build a massive, 10,000 person list in Cleveland or wherever, you end up doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was actually able to. So I didn't sell my most recent deal to this buyer because I don't like the way they operate. While they are a great buyer, the way that my company operates is very important to me. I like to be friends with my buyers. This buyer is like, oh, don't talk to me. I don't have time for this. You're a wholesaler. Talk to my intern. If we don't want it, we don't want it. There's no room. If it doesn't work right now, not cookie cutter, we're done. I had a contract expire with them and they pulled out because we were waiting for a lien. We needed the payoff letter from the IRS, and they backed out during that. And I didn't like how they were dealing with me. So I've actually, and his name is Justin. I've become a very, very close friend of mine now, just because of the business that we've done together. But he just bought a deal off me with his company, and he is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. I mean, he talks to me as if he's a a professor of mine, but also somebody who values my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's just a super educational resource to have. And we've got like $40,000 in assignment fees closing this month with them.
That's amazing. And so it's So what I love, Richard, that you're saying here is that what you're focusing on is relationships. And I think, I honestly think that going forward in this business, just having a massive list and no relationship is going to be detrimental to your growth long term. And I think building those relationships like you're talking about is going to be key to this, because the markets are shifting, the industry's changing. It's going to be much more important that we build these strong relationships with everybody who we interact with. You know, the sellers are going to start to go with the wholesaler who they feel has integrity, who's looking out for their best interest, not just their own, who's trying to do good to them, who's there to serve them. Cash buyers, they want wholesalers that they feel are being honest and that they are bringing deals that have accurate numbers and data to it, right? And so I think just going forward, this relationship idea in all areas, private money is another one, your contractors, all areas, real estate agents, building that team where you're creating those relationships, you're always going to win big time in the long run than just straight numbers, straight data, straight list. You know, I don't really care about you. This guy's willing to pay $1,000 more. You know, that type of thing is going to be hurtful, I think, to people.
And it extends past the buyer. It extends past the seller. It extends into your own team. I mean, I was able to get one deal a month consistently by myself. But now that I've been able to develop a team, we can turn that into 5-10 deals a month, which is what it's at right now. Yeah. And it wouldn't be possible without the relationship that I've been able to build with my team. And part of that is sending them big bonuses when deals close. Yeah. I mean, I sent my employee Kurt $500 when my $15,000 assignment fee paid out. And that's, I don't know if you know what Filipino money is, but that's big bucks in the Philippines as a 21-year-old.
Yeah.
So,
Richard, I'll tell you, so I've got some Filipino VAs in my company, and you know, they got hit really hard with Tsunami. Tsunami, was it recently? I think it was a tsunami.
Yeah, with the outages and such.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people died and a lot of damage was done to the island. And when that happened, I immediately contacted my VAs and I said, "How are you guys doing?" And they had sustained some damage, and the internet was down and everything, and they had flooding in their houses. And so I said to them, I said, "What do you guys need?" And they're like, "Well, you know, it's going to be hard for us to get back up online because things are going to be down for a while." So I said, "Let's get you some generators." So there's 3 of them. So I bought all 3 of them generators. And I said, "Let me put you up in you and your family in a hotel for 30 days. What's that cost?" They told me what it cost. I put them up. I mean, this whole thing wasn't very, very expensive, right? And they've been with me for a while, so they're family to me now. And you know what that cost me? A couple $1,000s. I didn't have to do that. Now, keep in mind, they got right back up online and we're working again, which is great. But they felt they couldn't believe that I was willing to do that for them. Like, they were just so stunned. I mean, they were like crying in gratitude for me being willing to do that. And it was a small thing in the big picture. But do you know what that did for our relationship and our loyalty, right? Like, these people will do anything for me now, right? Because I showed them how much I care about them and their well-being. And so you sending that $500, that's life-changing money in the Philippines, but it's more than that. It's showing that employee, hey, Richard really does want me to win. And he wants you to win. Isn't that amazing?
I meet with him every single week, and I tell him that. He is 21 years old. He's 1 year older than me, but in many ways, I see him as in the same situation as me. I mean, he doesn't live in the same country, and his life is a lot harder than mine, but he's very ambitious, and he wants to get ahead of a lot of people who are in his position right now. And I think that his start at my company is just going to be really great for him, and I'm really excited to see where he takes it. We've now expanded since we've brought him on. We've hired another virtual assistant, Diane, and she's going to be marketing for us in Georgia. Awesome. So Kurt will stay in Cleveland metro area, and Diane will go into Georgia. But planning to do the same thing with her. Bonus every single time a deal closes, and grow and build together.
It was sorry guys, it was a typhoon that hit the Philippines, not a tsunami. So Richard, okay, now let's talk about deal number 3. How'd that one go down?
So deal number 3, that is in Lakewood. And if you are unaware of Cleveland and Cleveland metro area, Lakewood is a city bordering one of the Great Lakes. And it is right outside of Cleveland. It's a beautiful historic area. And I would say the ranges of houses are in the low end 200,000 and the high end 500,000.
Okay, so higher end neighborhood.
Yeah, and those numbers literally anywhere else are poverty numbers. I mean, buying a $200,000 house where Jerry lives, it's not possible. It's a shack, maybe a teepee. I'm not sure, but anyway, the deal was it had no issues. There was nothing wrong with it. I remember calling the seller from a lead that we got in our text blast. We started text blasting after the $13,000 deal. I integrated a CRM. I hired a team. I now have 5 working under me, but the team starts text blasting in Cleveland, Ohio, in the Cleveland metro area. So when I say metro, I'm talking about Parma, North Royalton, Lakewood, just every single small city, even Akron around Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And we're getting about, I want to say 2 to 5 leads per day, and turning that into about 3 contracts per week, which has resulted in like 22 signed contracts since then. So while there are 22 signed contracts, some of them had title issues, some of them had to be canceled because the seller wasn't in a position to sell. One of my sellers was being sued by US Bank and was unable to sell his house because US Bank was going to take it from him. Very unfortunate foreclosure position. But anyways, we got the lead from text blasting. Okay. And the situation was a younger male seller who owned this house in Lakewood, but he did not live in it. His parents lived in it. And parents were a little bit older. I'd say the seller was probably 30, 35. And super straightforward guy. He knew exactly what I was trying to do, not necessarily wholesaling, but we wanted to do a fix and flip project. And when you have a buyer who feels like a close friend of yours, you coordinate things as though they're your business partner. So I call my buyer, Justin, and I'm like, hey, I got something great for you in prime Cleveland area. And he sends a team out to go check it out. We check it out within 2 days of having the contract. And this was a situation where the deal was so good that I also named my price, similar to the last one. I probably could have made 25 on it, but I made 15 on it because of just the relationship I had built with this buyer. He took my asking price. I had an asking price and he took it. And looking back on that now, I maybe could have gotten a little bit more, but I know, this is going to be a 6-figure flip for him. The ARV is very high on this one. He picked up the property for 270, and there are properties around it selling for 450. So this is a big spread for Cleveland. If you are somebody who's used to flipping in Cleveland, you want to make 30K. Yeah. You want to make 40K maybe, but making over 100 on a deal like this, it's a great deal. But I'm really happy I was able to give it to him. Since then, we've assigned him, like 8 more deals. We had a package.
Another aggressive active flipper in that market.
Yeah, he's more of a mom and pop flipper, but he's ahead of the stage of flipping like 1 house per month. I think he's capable of doing about 5 per month right now. We were selling him and we're in escrow for a 5 property package deal. Unfortunately, one of the houses was fire damaged and it was going to be a complete demo and almost a new construction. So because it was part of the package and the seller wasn't really willing to get rid of that 1 house, we had to cancel that contract. Unfortunate situation, but we're going to replace that with another one real soon. And then in this next week, Justin's actually closing on 2 more properties for me. One of them actually a wholesale deal.
Yeah. Wow. So this is really cool. You've tied into another really active cash buyer. Does that cash buyer care how much you're making or where you get your deals from?
Well, we haven't actually crossed that bridge yet. I would assume no, because of the relationship. but we've maxed out his plate right now. So I'm not selling him anything else right now because he can't do anything else because of the amount of deals he has right now.
What a great problem to have, right?
Yeah,
but this goes to show though why wholesalers are so valuable to cash buyers, because or flippers in particular, because fix and flippers, they just want to do their thing. They just want to go rehab houses and sell them and make money. The last thing a flipper wants to do is acquisitions. That's the last thing they want to do. They hate it. They hate it. They hate it. They hate it. So when they can tie into a good wholesaler that's bringing them deals that fit their margins, that's where that symbiotic relationship is just a match made in heaven. And so wonderful that you're there, Richard, putting in the effort to make these offers, get these contracts. You know, like think about how all the cogs in this market work because of where you start as a wholesaler, finding distressed properties, helping sellers out of those properties, bringing that distressed inventory that's sitting there dilapidated to these flippers and buy and hold investors that are going to then renovate them, make improvements, start paying taxes on them and all that, provide jobs for people and provide beautiful housing now and revitalize neighborhoods. Like, it's just an amazing thing. I just want to kind of step back a second and just think how blessed it is to be a part of that process. And it all starts with wholesaling.
And Jerry, you started in Detroit and I'm starting in Cleveland. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Detroit and Cleveland, but these are some of the most underprivileged markets in the entire United States. And the reason for that is that they're part of the Rust Belt. They're part of an area that was huge on machinery and building things. And in the early 1900s, that was a very prosperous area to be. But nowadays, they've been hit by bad weather. They've been hit by a rough economy. And the housing values are very, very low. A lot of distress in both the properties that are almost all built in 1906. I don't know why, but I always see 1906 in Cleveland. And the sellers need help. So without you, they are going to lose their house to the bank. They're going to lose their house to the city. All kinds of issues that they are just waiting for you to solve. And that starts with for sale by owner.
Yeah, and I would highly recommend everybody watch a video I put out recently about the most affordable markets in the U.S. this year. And I went through and I named out the top 10 markets that sell for, I think it's under 200 or under 250,000 as their average sale price, which is below the national median now is 400,000, right? So like, those markets are going to become more and more and more attractive because of affordability, because due to COVID now and this movement of working from home, people can live anywhere. So now you're seeing in Cleveland and Detroit's top on that list, you're seeing now these affordable markets that have always struggled to appreciate in value. You're seeing those markets become very, very attractive and a lot of revitalization going on. Which means as a virtual flipper, those are fantastic markets to get involved in.
And then there's also the fact that one thing that I've seen as I'm moving into Georgia as a new market, the benefit of Cleveland over Georgia and the benefit of these older cities, not so much older and when they were established, older when the housing boom happened, when the houses were all constructed, is that you don't have houses built in 1980 that are kind of very cookie cutter, boring houses. You have Victorian style houses with columns and peaks and wooden interiors. Cool. And they don't build houses the same way as they did back in the early 20th century. So flippers are interested in these because you have a very special type of retail buyer who wants to live in this old style rehabbed house, and it allows for so much potential on that rehab. And honestly, it's great to see houses built in the early 20th century that are in unlivable condition turn into modern masterpieces. It's one of the most satisfying aspects of it.
They don't build like that anymore. Like I look at the Detroit architecture from the 40s and 50s and like archways and the like 10-inch base trim and the mahogany, like they built those things to last till the millennium. I mean, they are the most beautiful, well-built homes. Nothing like these tract homes that we pop up today.
That's true.
And to go in there and revitalize those, I mean, I just love those beautiful homes built back in that era. They're just, especially when when you refinish the wood floors. And they're just amazing. So love that. Yeah. I put in the chat, guys, that link to that video. It's most affordable houses under 200,000. Those are, if you guys are thinking about virtual, like Richard's doing, I think Cleveland's on that list. Detroit's on that list. So those are some amazing markets. Watch that video, and that'll kind of help you if you want to think about going into one of these more affordable markets. Awesome.
And,
so go ahead, Richard.
Sorry, I was just going to say, anybody who's thinking about getting into this, all you need to do is call that other section on Zillow. Call the other section on Zillow. You're going to get a deal for like 10, 20, 30K, depending on the market that you get into. Use that money to hire a team. Start text blasting. So it's important you do your first deal, understand how the business works. But once you get that first deal, don't spend that money on a car. Don't spend that money on clothes. Don't spend that money on gifts, even if it's not for yourself. I've made that mistake before. Reinvest it. Hire a virtual assistant. I have a great virtual assistant who makes my business go round. His name is Dale, and he is the difference between $100K a year and $1 million a year. So
it doesn't cost that much, right? Doesn't cost that much.
Yeah. One of my VAs is $5 an hour.
Yeah.
And we pay him the bonus, but it's totally affordable. Use your for sale by owner wholesale money to change this from being a solo entrepreneur to having a company. And it will change your life forever.
Yeah, I like to say, Richard, when it comes to wholesaling, what you don't want to do is chase deals.
True.
Because if you chase deals, then what that means is, in the definition I have of chasing a deal, what happens is maybe you get that deal and maybe you make some money, but then you're starting all the way back over again. And every time you do a deal in this business, you're out of business because it's transactional. So think about that. Every time you do a deal, you're out of business because you got to start all over again. And that's where a system comes into play. So what you want to do is, rather than chase a deal, you want to build a business that does deals.
CRM.
That's right. It's all about your processes, right? And it's all about the systems, and it's all about starting to create a team. And then what happens is you're able to then move out of the trenches, which is where everybody starts, and you're able to move up into a higher level position within the organization, where now you're managing processes, you're managing people. There's really two things to grow a company. You got to have systems, which is your technology and your CRM and all of that, and you have to have people. You got to have the right butts in the right seats that are going to do that work. And when those two things synchronize, then there is no limit to your income. There's no cap on the ceiling of what you can do in this business.
And the other thing is, this business can be totally automated. As I said before, I'm a college student. While we are rapidly expanding, I've delegated all of the expansion tasks. We just brought on another employee, actually one of Jerry's students. But we just brought on another employee who's going to help me call in Georgia. And what's great about that is I only have to work about 2 hours a day. I make the final offers, but the 5 VAs below me and the 1 US based employee that we have are making all the difference. Team is everything. I know right now it seems like you could be working 12-hour days every single day, but once you implement that CRM, once you implement that team, you don't understand what your life could be. You don't understand what the potential could be. You have to take that leap of faith to try to jump into something like this. It's life-changing. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Guys, leave a comment right now and say, Richard, you're a flipping genius. Congratulate him on his success. What I love about Richard, and also leave a comment and say, let us know if you'd like me to do another video like this with Richard, and we can talk about scale, growing a team. Yeah, because you're now taking this thing to a whole new level. This video was primarily to talk about those first couple of deals, how that got you your start, how you were able to do that without having a ton of money invested and even time, as a college.
In debt, actually. In debt,
yeah.
In debt.
But now you've taken the income from these couple of deals, you're reinvesting into a team. You've got a bunch of, I think you told me you've got how many contracts on the books? 20 some contracts?
We have 22 signed contracts right now
on the books. So guys, if you want us to do, we're running out of time. If you want us to do another video where Richard could share some ideas on how he's scaling the company, I think that'd be a fun video, Richard, if you're up for it.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
But yeah, leave a comment, say, Richard, you're a flipping genius. And guys, we have a few minutes here. Let's see if there's some questions we're going to stop in about 10 minutes. Let's see if there's some questions here that might be helpful. I'm going to try to pick something that's sort of relevant to what we've been talking about here, if that's possible.
How do you hire a VA?
How do you go about hiring a VA? Okay, great question. There's lots of places where you can go. There are services that actually provide VAs. If you're part of Flipster, then we have a VA service. The way it works is you can buy a VA in blocks of time of 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours. And then inside the CRM of Flipster, it has a dashboard where you'll communicate back and forth with the tasks with your VA. Now, you need to kind of give them direction. You need to train them. You need to make sure that they're being effective and deciding what you're having them do. But that's a built-in VA service. I think it ends up being like $5-6 an hour. So what I recommend is start with like 10 hours, have them start doing things. And then if you like them, then you can keep using them. And they're from the Philippines. So they're all from the Philippines. They may be good at phones. You'll have to see if they are, right? So test them out and try them out. That's one way. But that's built into Flipster. If you want to learn more about it, go to getflipster.com. Now let's answer this question. So Richard uses very much a two-step process with his VAs, I believe, and this is how I do it as well. So the VA's most valuable asset would be to pre-qualify leads.
Yes.
Like, are you serious about selling your house? Do you really want to? Great. Give me your name, give me your address, some qualifying questions. And then you get your closer, if it's you or if you've got an acquisitions team, to close the deals. But that tends to be the most effective way to use a VA. Is that what you're doing, Richard?
Yeah. So I initially thought about having a VA make an offer for me, but here's the thing. The part of wholesale that is important for you to understand is comping and making the offers. Almost every other part of wholesale isn't real estate. It's menial tasks that can be done by everybody. It's texting on the phone. Think of your time and energy as opposed to hours. If you're spending the energy responding to sellers via text, you're not going to have the energy to hop on the phone or do any of the other parts of the business. So the VA does not make any offers for me. The VA qualifies, as Jerry said, and they find out all the information about the property. So what's your motivation? But of course, we never ask what's your motivation. Apart from the right price, why are you considering selling your property today? And we just get every single situation that we can out of the seller. And so I just see another question came through, but essentially VAs just are to qualify.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Richard. Next question here. Is it better to start on market or off market? Now, other people are going to give you a lot of different opinions about this. Well, actually, most people don't even teach on market. I'm a big fan of on market because there's no marketing cost to generate leads. Right? Because what you're doing is you're utilizing the public information of properties listed for sale with agents. You're using the double dip technique of going directly to the listing agent to create a competitive advantage. And you're trying to generate distressed properties through that channel. Again, what's great about it is no marketing cost. So you're not paying for leads. You're not paying for texting. You're not paying for direct mail. You're not paying for a lot of expensive things that you have to do off market. The reason why you have to off market is because those sellers don't know you exist. So you have to spend money on marketing to get in front of them. Now, there's a place for both, I think. I look at lead gen like deep sea fishing. The more lines in the water, the more fish you catch. So having only one way to generate leads is going to limit your ability to get deals and grow the business. Whereas if you've got multiple ways of generating leads, more deals coming in. But I tend to tell people, do what Richard did. Chase those FSBOs, chase those on markets, get a couple deals under your belt. Once you've got some money coming in, and this would be unless you've got some cash to invest, but assuming you don't, get some deals in like Richard did, then start to invest in systems, a CRM, a VA, and grow from there. Would you agree with that, Richard?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I actually, every single person I tell, and I tell a lot of people because I'm very passionate about this business, you need to do a deal first. It's as plain and simple. You need to do a deal first. When I first started, and I'm talking like 5-6 months ago, when I first started, I was terrified of the outcome of getting a contract. What happens if I get a contract? Do I have to buy this house? I don't want to buy this house. I'm in debt already. I can't buy a house. Yeah. But you need to understand that you won't have to buy the house. You need to understand how to get in contact with the title company. And all of this is really, really simple stuff. But if you have it clear in your head and you understand how this is going to go start to finish, how you're going to get paid, you have no problem putting confidence in a team and training that team to execute what you've already taught yourself to do.
Love that. Great tip. So this question here is a very good question. If you're contracting on market deals, how do you know what price to mark it up for? Well, first of all, the formula is the formula, right? You got to know what a cash buyer is willing to pay. You got to back out your wholesale fee, and that's your offer price. However you're getting to your number, you have to be able to bring that deal to a cash buyer at a number they're going to want it at. Now, the challenges with on market is sometimes that number is higher than list price, which makes it challenging because now that cash buyer is going to say, oh, well, it's listed for $99.9 and you're bringing it to me for $115. I'm paying over list price. Again, those people are looking at the money in somebody else's pocket, not their own pocket. A legit cash buyer who's only looking at deals that fit their criteria won't care about that. They're just going to care, is 115 a number for me? Does it work for me? I want it. You put in the effort to go get it. That number fits for me. I want it, and it won't matter, right? So I tell people, don't worry about list price. Go ahead and make the offer at the right number. Sometimes for me, that's half of list price. And I don't care. I'll make the offer. I don't care. It's more about the relationship. It's more about the process. It's more about making offers. And I've landed deals where I've gotten it for half of list price. So don't assume that they'll say no. Just do your job, which is make offers. Your job as a wholesaler is to make a gazillion offers. That's your job.
Can't get in your own head about what you think that seller's going to say. I feel like with on market, there is an assumption that this is what they want, but that's really not the case. Oftentimes the seller will say, hey, I don't care what this agent says, put it on here for this. And that's why you see all these super unrealistic prices. But make that connection with the agent, make that connection with the for sale by owner, explain to them, hey, this is why I need to be here. Look, I'm not a retail buyer. I'm going to do work that an agent might have you do anyways. I'm going to pay all your closing costs. Make them understand why you need to be where you are, and it will make the process a lot smoother. A big part of seller's rejection is when you just put a number out there. Hey, I got a piece of property that's theoretically worth 100. You offer me 70 for it. Why? You have to explain to them why you're offering that number.
Yes, especially to get the agent on board. I found that if I can help the agent understand why my number is my number, and it logically makes sense to the agent, that agent will do a much better job selling it to their client, the seller, right? They'll go to the seller and they'll say, hey, I got this cash offer for 70. I know we're at 100 right now, but I really think you should consider this offer because this, and this. And when the agent is on your team now helping the seller realize why that's a legit number, your chances of getting that contract go way up. So
that's right.
If they feel like you're just lowballing, they're going to be offended. And that's the last thing I want. So you'll notice, like when you watch me model calls with agents, I very rarely jump right into my number. I wait and I position things. I ask their opinion. I talk about what it'll resell for. I talk about how much repairs are going to cost. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to win that agent over to feel like my offer is legit, that it's reasonable, that it's fair. And that's when that agent is going to go to bat for me, when they feel like I'm being fair and legit and have a reason why I'm at my number.
And then additionally, what's important is to understand that real estate agency is inherently a conflict of interest. So for example, a real estate agent is representing you to sell your house. You think that they are on your side entirely. But the thing is, if somebody like us calls and says, hey, I want to double your commission, by default, they are also on your side. So they are representing the person. They're making that 2.5% commission. You give them a call and you say, hey, I would like you to represent me. I don't come unrepresented. But if you are representing me, this is the price that I'd like to be at. They totally understand that language. While you may not exactly have to mention, hey, conflict of interest to motivate you to take a lower price, they understand that double commission that you are offering them is something that almost no other buyer can do, even if you're coming in at a lower price.
Yes, that is so true. Love that. One of the questions was, how do I get boots on the ground to do walkthroughs? I have a guy that actually trains your boots on the ground to go do your property walkthroughs for you. So I put that in the chat for you guys that want that. It's really good. It's step-by-step instructions for how to take pictures, how to do the video, and all of it, because that's the one thing that you need in that local market when you do virtual is you're going to need someone that can go do that and get the information you need for your cash buyers.
Can I add on to that?
Sure, please do.
So I actually found that if you have a good buyer, they're going to want to see the property themselves.
Yes.
I have never paid for photos. I have never paid for an inspection. I like to send my buyer there and say, hey, look, this is a one-time inspection. Bring your contractor. Bring who you need to bring. And I get free photos, free professional contractor inspection, and my buyer sees the house without even having photos, because when you don't have the photos, the buyer's like, okay, well, I need to see it. You know, very few buyers buy completely sight unseen. You have to be a very advanced buyer to feel comfortable doing that. So I don't use a dialer for the question, but essentially totally lost my train of thought. Wow. Anyway,
not needing someone to go do walkthroughs for you.
Yeah, the buyer will do the walkthrough for you if they're a good one.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, let's answer one more question, and then we'll get wrapped up here. Do you wholesale under an LLC? So you don't have to have your LLC set up in order to start doing deals, but why wait? There's so much benefit with having an LLC, because now you can take advantage of tax write-offs. And there's a lot of things that you may not realize are tax deductible that you're doing even before you've done your first deal. And so, you know, winning the tax game is a big deal. I wish I wouldn't have waited so long to focus on tax benefits. I thought it was something I had to wait until I was making a bunch of money to think about, but it's not true. So some of your education, your driving around, your gas, a lot of these things are tax deductible that you should be taking advantage of right now. And you get the liability protection by doing deals under an LLC versus your personal name. So, you know, don't let that hang you up from getting going and doing deals. And at the same time, you know, go ahead and get it going. In fact, you guys should use the company that I recommend. They're really amazing. I'll put the link in here in just a second. But what they do is they'll do all your year-end taxes. They'll actually set up your first LLC for you with no cost other than the filing fees. So it will cost something, but they'll do that for you. And they'll do a free hour-long call with you to do tax strategy and planning. So they'll figure out, okay, where are you at right now? What are you doing? What else you got going on? What are your goals? And then they'll help you strategize for where you need to go, you know, from there. And so it's really simple. Let me just type it in real quick. It's Prime Corporate Services, I believe. I hope I get this right. .com/flipping mastery. Let's see if that does it. I'll put that up there. If you go there, it'll take you to a landing page, and you'll get on a calendar, and you can schedule a 1-hour call, and then talk to them about your LLC, talk to them about your tax planning, tax strategy. They also do some other really cool things like estate planning and stuff. But all right, I think we're about out of time, Richard. That was really amazing, you sharing that. I love what you're doing. Super excited for you. This is just so fun to see you so quickly out of the gate get this going and now scaling your business. So let's schedule some time to get you back on here and share about some of the scale things you're doing. Love it.
And I don't have a YouTube channel, but I'd love to give back to people. Could I just drop my phone number so people can text me questions, follow me on Instagram? I'm going to answer every single question people have, because I didn't have somebody to talk to me in person. I know how huge that can be sometimes.
Yeah, let me put up here your Instagram handle. What is it?
It's Richard.Taylor. Unfortunately, Taylor was taken, so it's an ER.
Okay, Taylor. So Richard.Taylor is your Instagram?
Yep.
Okay, let me put that up here real quick. Richard's Instagram, is that right? Richard.Taylor?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, so let's do it that way, guys. Shoot him a message. He's already he did a special training with just my coaching students, and he's been helping them. He actually hired one of them. So, you know, thank you, Richard, for being so willing to share and give. I promise you that will come back to you 1,000-fold in your life by giving it back. It will. Trust me, it will. It has for me. So thank you, everybody. Love that you were here. Thank you for all of the participation. Once this ends, again, the live chat will stop and the comment section will open up. So leave comments. I'll try to keep an eye on those if there's anything we can do to help you. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Richard. And we'll see you on the next video.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Appreciate it.